Hey, it's Karina Reichman, and you are listening to Comes a Time with Oteil Burbridge and Mike Fenoya. If you're digging the podcast, do these guys a favor and review and subscribe. It means a lot. Be sure to follow the pod on social media, YouTube, and if you're joining for bonus episodes and exclusive content, go to patreon.com/comesatimepod and get on the bus. And now, here's Mike and Oteil.
Yeah, the road, back on the road. I texted you this weekend too, just being out on the road, and it's in a hotel in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, that's right. I was in the dingiest. It actually smelled like it had mold, so I was like, oh man. And I actually liked it because, I'm so used to the really super nice hotels, and it's like, this is a reminder that you're still paying some dues to do this hotel, because this hotel sucks. But it was out in the middle of nowhere. It's like anything my road manager could do about it. Like,
no,
it's the closest saying.
It's interesting that you say that too, because I was like, been out on the road doing a hybrid, I'd call it, like great hotels with, the stars that I'm opening for, and then my headline dates, which some hotels are beautiful and some are not so beautiful. And I'm just like, when I'm checking in, I'm almost hinting to the staff. Like I joke, but I'm not joking. They're like, would you like is the 5th floor good? And I'm like, whatever floor is the cleanest, like whatever's the freshly clean room. And I'm like, did you open up any new sheets in any rooms? And I'm just kidding with you, but I'm not really, like I just play like that. I literally, dude, I don't care if I have to open the door and like fall onto the bed. The room is so small. I just want a clean room. I just want a clean room. Clean.
Yeah. And the way it smells is a big part of it. I didn't realize, because all of mine smell good all the time now.
I know.
And so I walked out, I was like, oh, really? And then so my first thought is, I guess I'll get used to it.
Do you ever go out and buy candles sometimes?
Which I did.
Yeah. Do you ever
Dude, I wish that I had some.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I think I'm going to start traveling with, Oteil? I think I'm going to start traveling with these. Like, I have these little oil diffuser bottles of maybe like spearmint or sandalwood or lemon or whatever, and just like douse them, do like an exorcism, and just
accidentally spill it.
Whoops. I can't take dirty rooms. I don't care. Like, and it's hard. I know some people, some gigs we do, or they're trying their best, or we're in the middle of nowhere, and maybe the Holiday Inn Express is the best hotel in the area. Who knows? You know what I mean?
That's exactly what I was at. I didn't want to call anybody out, but that's what I was at.
Me too.
It was 5 minutes from the gig, bruh. Out in the middle of nowhere.
What the hell did I text you? I should be sleeping with my shoes on, I think I wrote.
See, you beat me. I wasn't that bad, but that moldy smell. You wonder what's doing that.
Wet carpeting.
It's not something dead. Yeah,
no.
I think that's it.
It's wet carpeting. And this room wasn't terrible that I was in. It was just this like lingering fresh cigarette smoke that was just like, where is this is a ghost smoking in here? Like, this is so weird. Now
that you mention it, I think there was definitely some cigarette. I think there was some wet carpet. But because I haven't been in a room that smells like cigarettes in like a decade.
No, dude. I didn't even know they still made smoking rooms.
They don't. Somebody was just like, this is in the middle of nowhere. F it. Like, I'm smoking. Or with someone playing a festival, there's like, they just paid the fine, like Snoop Dogg just hands them like $2,000 because they're like, yeah, we're smoking up this whole floor.
Yeah, by the way, we're smoking. How funny is that? How many have that fuck you? When you could just go, what's your fine? I'll pay it now.
Here you go.
Yeah.
What is it again? Oh yeah, here's another 500 just in case. But the thing you said first about make it I was joking, but I was not joking. I wonder if that was one of the original, like, genesis or genocide of comedy. Like, it's I want to tell you the truth, but I gotta put some sugar with it. You know?
Mm. Well, yeah. Yeah. And then Lenny
Telling
Bruce
a
was
hard
like,
truth.
fuck that. Yeah.
Here it is straight.
Here it is straight. So funny. I've been because and you know it goes back to almost like the genesis of our friendship where like we talk about what we need on the road in order to get by. You know what I mean? And like this was just one of those like penultimate road in and out in like 3 days, couple shows, good shows, but also just like sleeping too much, not sleeping at the right hour. It's like the minute I enter that hotel room and it's just
Yeah.
me and those four walls, it's like, all right, welcome back. It's like the critic's like dealing a
Yeah.
deck at the table and he's like, come sit and play, you know? And it's like,
Comes.
here we are again.
Yeah.
I found you. You know what I mean?
You know what I have to do is let it all go because the hard thing is, like you say, sleep too much, sleep not enough, or just the times are weird.
Yeah.
And so I just have to go, dude, you are not at home. You're not
Mm,
going to bed at 8 o'clock and getting up at 6. Like,
yeah.
let it all go. I just let it all go. It's a
Let it
little
go.
more difficult for you because you're doing weekends right
Yeah.
now. So you're always going to come back to the home schedule. Whereas it
Yeah.
was a little difficult for me the last couple of weeks. But when I go on this next tour in September, it's 2 weeks straight. So I can
Right.
just read, just be, it's like an astronaut. It's like when
It
when you're in
really,
outer space, you're not on Earth anymore, Bubba. Just let it
you
go, man.
really aren't. That's so true, dude. Like you pull like somehow like the driveway to my house is the ozone layer.
That's right. We're leaving the ozone.
And then when I get back in, I have to like take a minute to like acclimate to oxygen. And Lisa's like, "What do you want to do for dinner? Let's check out how big the sweet potatoes grew." And I'm just like, "Give me a fucking minute. Just give me a minute. I gotta figure out like my
I need
footing again on Earth."
48 hours.
Oh boy, dude, it's a lot. It's a real lot. And you want to know what's funny? I tried a new LaGuardia's got this like you go on to book parking, right? And it's so funny how expensive things are and how like you just go cost
Oh my
versus
God. Yeah, it's
cost
crazy.
versus luxury, I'd say maybe. So like you could park literally like at the gate and just walk into the airport and I'm like literally I can like navigate like a New York airport, locking my car to sitting in my seat on the plane in like half hour, 40 minutes. But I got to pay some money. Otherwise, you got to show up hours early and park in like a remote lot,
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
shuttle. Dude, Oteil,
Atlanta's
I'm
like,
ordering parking and I'm going, okay, $190 to park at the airport, $65 to
oh,
park. Yeah, I know. But then listen,
oh
$65
shit.
to park in this remote lot. And it says, okay, shuttles every 20 minutes. Let's try this. I just want to see how it goes. I pull into the parking lot and dude, there's an infestation of these like locusty looking bugs. Like I pulled into the lot and I popped my trunk and all of a sudden these flying like cicadas or whatever the hell.
It's like a
Oteil, they're
horror
all over
movie.
me. They're all over my luggage. They're in my car. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Is this where Armageddon's beginning? Is in the LaGuardia discount lot, you know? So
And they're gonna charge you for it too.
they're not
Oh,
even
shit.
bugs, they're just little credit card machines with wings flying at me.
Oh my
So yo, I
God.
get into the shuttle, Oteil. I get into the shuttle. The driver turns and looks at me and he goes, back slowly out of the van. And I'm like, what? And he's like, back slowly out of the van. And I'm like, are you robbing me right now? And he goes, you got one of those fucking bugs on your back. I've had it with these things. Like he made me turn, he was slapping me in the back
Oh.
trying to kill. He goes, there was dead ones all in his van. He goes, I don't even know what these things are. They're everywhere. And he was like flipping out. And I'm like, bro, all right. I thought you were going to like kill me. Like, cool. Yeah, kill the bug. So we're pulling out of the thing. He's complaining about these bugs. I go do my trip. I come back. It says every 15 to 20 minutes the shuttle arrives, right? 45 minutes, I'm standing there. An hour, I'm standing there. Somehow now I start calling, okay? And I get the number of the, I'm like, guys, what's going on here? You know, I've been here an hour.
You paid $65 for this.
65 bucks, another $100 and I would have been home. This is what I'm talking about, you know? So like, the guy picks me up, Oteil. He drives to another part of the airport, puts the thing in park, grabs his lunchbox, and goes, someone will be here in a minute to complete your drive. And I go, whoa. He goes, I'm done for the day. I'm going home. And I'm like, middle of a ride? Like, come on, man. I landed at 11. I didn't get to my car until like 1:30, dude. Like, oh my God. And
see, now this is where I think it's a conspiracy. This is where my conspiracy mind goes. I go, they do this on purpose. They put the bugs there. They fuck you on the time. Then the guy goes in to make you go to the $190.
Well,
but go ahead. It gets worse. It gets worse.
No, it gets worse. He goes, like this other guy gets in. He's like, hey, how you doing? He goes, we got to go to the other terminals before we go to the parking. I'm like, dude. I'm like, come on. Now I work on Impractical Jokers. I'm like, is this a prank? Like, I'm looking like for like cameras and microphones in the van.
Looking for your boys.
Yeah, dude. I'm like,
all right, Q, cut it out.
You guys got me. Had to drive around the whole airport. Back in. I'm like, dude, my car is just like, there's these dead bugs, Oteil, all over the place. And I'm just like, oh yeah, these fucking things, you know? So I'm like crunching over them when I'm driving. It was a weird day. And I had another trip next week and I had that parking lot booked and I'm like, cancel, upgrade to fucking, there's no way I'm not. It's just that cost of, I don't know.
You'll pay the money.
Got to pay the money, man. And I'm just like, fuck, I'm never, ever. What a horrible dude. When he pulled over and got his lunch bag, and was like,
split.
Someone else will be here in a minute. And I sat in that, I was there alone for like 3 minutes, dude. And I'm just like, motherfucking the world. I'm like, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. And then I'm like, second guess, if I didn't stop and get that coffee, if I didn't, check my luggage, if I didn't.
It's all the next time. $190.
Next time.
Just got to get that.
I'll pay $290.
Here's how I think about it, though. How old are you now?
90 emotionally, but 43.
See, by that age, because actually 43 was the age that I started doing it. Come to think of it, 43, I'm a lot older than that now, but I just figure like at a certain point in your life, you're just like, no, now I'm in the more expensive parking.
Yeah.
I've done it. You paid your post-apocalyptic parking lot dues already. Jesus Christ.
Oteil,
I haven't even gotten out of town yet.
Dude, my car wasn't even fully off. And there's just a swarm of locusts. And I'm like, should I get on this plane? Like, this is weird.
See that? Excuse me. Remember when we had that Skull and Roses gig?
Yeah.
Where the changeover was supposed to be 30 minutes and it went 90 and then we only had 30 minutes to play. So this is where it's happened a couple of times since then. And I'm grateful for that Skull and Roses gig.
Yeah.
Because I said, the next time this happens, I'm going to cut this off at the first time we're 20 minutes over. Because it was 2 mics, right? So the next time you pull in somewhere and you see locusts, you're like, all right, I'm going to expensive.
All right. That's it.
It's just, right away. I know where this goes.
At the first sight of locusts.
Nope.
That's when I take my hat and I go, nope. Shift it.
Yeah, turn it. Put the car in reverse. Rebook. Cancel.
Anyway.
Do not allow.
I just canceled a gig. Be like, hey, I'm done. Oh my God, it was brutal, bro. At the first sign of locust. How hilarious. Imagine that review.
That's
If
where
I
we're
like
at
wrote a
these
review. Honestly, that's where we're at these days. At the first sign of
days.
locusts. Yeah. And then when he got out of the van, I'm just like, I can't even. Literally, dude, I had it set in my mind. I'm like, if someone doesn't get in this van in 120 seconds, I'm driving it. Like I'm getting in it
I would
and
have
I'm
just
finishing this
got
ride.
behind it. Because you know
Start
what?
picking
They'll
people up.
get in then. Yeah,
They
when
sure
they
will.
see that thing start pulling off, somebody will come
Oh,
in.
looks like you're doing a little overtime today, Chief. Middle of a ride, dude. He got out.
Oh, God.
I could not believe it.
Gee. So good. But then I look at those things too as like, I probably said this on a previous podcast, as paying the tab up front.
Yeah.
Because in my situations like that, like this hotel, and then we played Hot August Festival,
Yeah.
and it was really great. Like it was really great. Like normally in August, and it was in outside of Baltimore, Maryland. It's the same thing
That's
as
a hot.
Washington D.C.,
That's
where I grew
steamy.
up. Dude, I didn't think nothing of summers in the South. I was like, we've
Mm,
already had this in D.C.
yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
less cold, but it was like spring had just started. I swear, I think it was 69 degrees. And
Ooh.
it was the perfect day. And it was so chill. And that's why I think I wrote the set list so chill. And Little Feat was playing. Oh, dude.
How was that?
That
God, I love them.
good. I mean, wow, man. It was, I know. See, for us old people, we know that means Campbell's soup.
Campbell
But
soup.
but
Good.
man, it was so good. And I got
Yeah.
to see them way back in the day, actually in Birmingham, Alabama, when Richie Hayward was still alive. And Paul Barrere and the whole, it was like, oh, it was so good, but it was really great. And then have you heard this cat, Chris Jacobs?
I don't think so.
Everybody's
No.
talking about him. Like people are just texting me, you gotta see this guy, Christian. Well, then he was playing before us, and I got to see him and hang out with him.
Oh yeah.
And he reminded me a little of the Colonel. And I told him, and he was like, "Yeah, he gets my birthday." And so he knew
Oh, no
or at
kidding.
least met the Colonel. Yeah, it was really good energy, man. Really good band. The band, the bass player and drummer. I think the bassist had been seeing me since he was like a teenager or something, way, way back in early '90s.
How
With the
old's this
Colonel.
dude? Chris.
He's young. I mean, he looks to me like he's still in his 30s.
Yeah, because the Colonel
Maybe
had to. Yeah. I mean, if he met him.
maybe he's in
Wow.
his early 40s. I don't know, but he's really, so just shout out to him. It's really fun hanging with him. We were all watching Little Feat together with Dwayne Betts and Lamar, and it was a fun time. So it was worth it. Like even though the hotel was kind of the locus, I it was paying the tab up front. Like I bet your shows after that were really
They were
good,
great.
right?
Yeah, they were great. And the crew was fun, and it was it was a good time. And it was the shows were good. There were some Comes a Time fans out at the
Nice.
shows. Yeah, there was and it
Isn't
was
that
really,
always nice? That's always nice
dude.
when you get comes to time shout outs.
Dude, some deadheads in the crowd at a comedy show. Like I like that because I feel like I'm starting to like infiltrate you know what I'm saying? Like more tie-dye socks at
Yeah.
comedy shows is what I'm saying. I want more pins.
Yeah.
More pins. Come out
You
in
get
your
on
free.
stage, there's already a bunch of stickers on the stage.
That's what I said. Dude, I had like a full-on conversation with this dude about the dead. And I was just like, none of you get it. And I want to keep it that way. I'm like, me and him have a language that, you guys probably
Oh,
wouldn't
you're
get,
on
but
stage doing this?
on stage, dude. This dude was sitting front, right up front. Shout out Mike for coming out to the show. And I'm just like, yo, dude, what's up? And he was just like, just red-eyed and just tie-dyed up and Jerry everything. And I'm just like, yeah, man. And he's like, love the pod, like it was just so great. And we started bullshitting about dead stuff. And I'm like, you're not in on it, but it's all good. This guy's the best. I think I said something like, if you all like licked his sock, you'd be tripping balls for like the next 4 to 6 hours. Like I said something funny about it, whatever. But him and his girl were there, and they were great, man. It was fun. It was a fun weekend of shows for sure. But you know, Little Feat, like the band, like the Dead, like the Almonds, like so many before them, and things people I'm not mentioning, but it's that American fabric, that institution
Yeah.
of, like my introduction to Little Feat was probably Bobby covering Easy to Slip, because Bob
Mm,
Weir and Rat Dog and stuff would play Easy to Slip. And I remember being like,
yeah.
who's this? Because I'm like, what a great Bobby song. And then I found out it wasn't a
Yeah.
Bobby song. It was but they to me fit that, I texted you this weekend, like they're from LA, but they feel like New Orleans.
Yeah. Exactly. I didn't think they were from California.
I thought they
I
were
said,
from New
no, they're not.
Orleans,
They're from New Orleans. They're like, nope.
LA.
I was like, how is it possible?
Isn't that crazy? It's just there's that near the Mexico US border sound, the New Riders of the Purple Sage type cowboy
Yeah.
vibe, truck drivers driving across the border with, tons of Acapulco gold in the back of their truck or something like that. I get that feeling with them. But there is that fabric. Little Feat to me is like, like you were saying, you saw them when other members were still alive and stuff. And Lil George left, like, God,
Yeah.
when did he die?
Early.
Early 70s, mid
It
70s?
was way back there in that first wave of deaths, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But their
I'm
music
not
will go on
sure on my
forever.
Little Feet history. Yeah, and it has that gumbo thing. Like all these great bands like could only have happened in America.
Right.
It
Right.
could only have happened here in that time, in that specific time period. And I can appreciate it a lot more now being older and knowing the history and knowing the roots of it and how it evolved. It's like, oh, it went electric here and then it immediately took acid. And then, it's like there's a whole, but before that, there was just all this mix, it's the mixing of country and bluegrass and gospel and soul and R&B and funk and reggae and just like all blues and I
Yeah.
should put blues a lot earlier, but like
I know what you mean.
it's
Yeah.
it's
It's
all
all of
that
it.
gumbo. It's that gumbo thing.
The
That's the
American music
fabric.
stew.
Is
Yeah. Yeah. It's so neat.
That's why you
And
hear it. It's a really great name to call it a tapestry. It's the perfect description of it.
you're right.
You know?
You're 100% right. And I think that those bands, like I'm trying to think of other American, and I don't, I know obviously there's so many with jazz and bluegrass and funk and all of that, but that rock and roll standard, I don't know. Like, I feel like Little Feat's the band that like Jerry and Greg and Dwayne and all that would probably stand and watch. Do you know what I mean? It's the band that the
Oh,
bands
absolutely.
love.
Absolutely they were.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. I remember hearing Colonel Bruce talk. I mean, that's how I met Paul Barrere. He was on Arkansas, that first album, Colonel Bruce album that he gave me.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, he's got the guitarist from Little Feat on this record. I was like, all right, maybe he's not lying about all this shit. But then I saw Paul Barrere at a Peach Fest a few years ago. God, how many? The pandemic has screwed my timelines. But it was good to see him and like talk about the Colonel and stuff. It's just yeah.
Yeah.
So they definitely were. And when we were watching them, it was so cool because I'm playing with this second generation of Allman Brothers with Dwayne Betts and Lamar Williams
Yeah.
Jr. And so they're like a little bit in front of me and they're just looking at each other and smiling and bright-eyed and singing along to the lyrics. And Dwayne goes, "This reminds me so much of my childhood because Little Feat did a tour with the Allman Brothers band when I was whatever age he was. He was a kid."
Yeah.
And so that's when he like really fell in love with them when they were on the road. So it was
Wow.
cool seeing him being nostalgic and then seeing Lamar, and he knew, like, I don't know the words and stuff, but they were singing along, and just like, it was a nice moment, man. It was
That
really
is a nice
cool.
moment.
And they still brought it, man.
They
They still
shred.
brought it. It was,
Yeah.
and I'm eyeballing the drummer hard because Richie Hayward's my man. Like, he's like Bonham to me. Like any of those great legendary drummers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Richie's that guy. Like it was hard for me to believe he was white. It was, man. I was
Yeah.
surprised when I saw him. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
He's so funky and got so much of that New Orleans and that
New
snare
Orleans.
crack. There's a certain crack on the snare that
Yep.
just, it sounds ridiculous, but it sounds black. I don't know. It's just true, man. Like if you're a drummer, the drummers know what I'm talking about for real. It's just a sort of it's got that skippity pap 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 thing on it,
Yeah. Skippity pap
And then
pap.
yeah, so
Yep.
when I was watching the drummer, I can't even help it because he's sitting in a sacred spot and he crushed it. I should look up his name. Shout out to whoever maybe they said somebody, Tony Leone. I'm not sure of his
We
name.
can
I
look it
should
up.
be shot for
Yeah.
not knowing, but I should have looked it up while I was watching him. But he's the man. He was handling it, man. And to watch the crowd, like it still had that same effect on the crowd. It was fun.
Oh, dude, they're I mean, honestly, and the drums and the bass of Little Feat, I would say, is probably it's Gabe Ford, Tony Leone.
Tony Leone,
Tony
yeah.
Leone, yeah, you got it, buddy.
Yeah. Dude,
He played
he
with
is
Chris Robinson Brotherhood, Ola
Oh,
Bell, Levon Helm Band, Phil Lesh.
so
Yeah,
I have heard him because Ola Bell was one of my favorites. I
yeah,
do
he's
know
from
him.
Connecticut. This guy.
Yeah.
He's,
And probably from Chris Robinson. Yeah, because I remember um I think the Peacemakers did a gig with them, and I remember thinking that drummer was a badass. Yeah. Putting
there he
two and
is.
two
Wow.
together. There he is again. See, the cream always rises to the top, man. They stay out there. Like got young musicians out there.
Yep.
Just be consistent and don't be a numbnut, man. If you can play, just stay in the game because you will continually be in the game. You'll have longevity. He is so good with Little Feat. Oh, he just kills it.
And I think the percussion and the rhythm section of Little Feat was the thing that always made me think they were from New Orleans. Do you know what I mean? Like you hear the beginning of Dixie Chicken and it's like, oh, this is like what a Mardi Gras parade would march to. Do you know what I mean? It had that meters,
absolutely.
like
a bunch of their stuff.
sound,
And the
like,
slide.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
God, I love them so much.
Yeah.
And that's a band that like they bit me and I got the bug hard. And it took me a while.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I wasn't into them right off the bat, but that was a thing that like when it finds you, you need it and you can't get enough. You know what I'm saying? Like that to me.
Yeah. It's a certain fix. Yeah.
Yes.
And Dixie Chicken is it. Right in the vein, man. And I gotta shout out Kenny Gradney, the bass player, who who's in that book, that Alan Paul book that I'm reading. They go back to that time.
Yeah.
And Gradney, man, he's such a sweetheart. I've met him a few times, but we got to meet backstage at the just talk for a second backstage. Me, him, and Scott Sherrod, and man, he was playing some good guitar. He's really in his element, and Little Feat. I mean, he's in his element everywhere, but I just felt like it was extra special. He was in his element with Little Feat,
Yeah.
And Gradney, man, what a cool dude. I'm watching him, and as with all these guys at a certain age, you watch them, you think about how many times has he done this? Like, it was so cool to be able to watch him here, still hitting these grooves that he created. It's his thing,
Yeah.
It was so, just thinking about the history, and now here I am coinciding, like playing with him at this time. And then, I don't know, it just was really, I just felt more reverence than I usually feel being younger. The
Yeah,
older I get,
I
the more I'm
gotcha.
like, it's
Yeah.
so heroic to me, man. Beautiful,
Do,
the
do
beauty
you
of it.
think? Do you think about that? Did you think about that up there with Bobby? Like, would you look at across during gigs and say
Oh yeah,
did you
oh
think
yeah.
about him with he'd be he looked at Jerry and did this, or he did did you think about that with those guys and with the Almonds as well? Because you're in a very unique, you're in potentially a league of your own as it
I know.
relates to do you understand what I
I
mean?
know.
Like you've
I
had
know.
these
There's
moments.
only like two other people that have done what I've done, and that's Jimmy Herring and Warren Haynes. So I'm in a league of
Yeah.
three. That's pretty much
It's a
it, you
very
know.
interesting league you're in though, man. Because you're looking at Bobby and
It
you're going
is.
now Bobby's someone who quite possibly, if anybody could ever do the math on it, he may have clock the most minutes on stage of any living person. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, he's been,
That's what he's going for.
I think that's what he's going for, and he may have it. I mean, Jesus, who's been playing,
No, there's these guys, the Golden Gate. Oh, no, I should be shot because I remember. I think Derek was at the Grammys with him at the same time. Anyway, they had their 70th or 75th anniversary.
Yeah,
So them old
I
dudes,
know.
but
They do put in the
this is like the
hours, but
20s or some shit.
I know.
Yeah. but
But that whole
but
two sets and all
obviously
that, yeah.
Bob. Yeah, Bob probably. I wonder. The way Deadheads archive everything, it could be determined how many hours. He might be a Guinness Book
Let's
record
put that out
holder.
there. Let's see how good
you know?
yeah. Let's see. It comes a
Yeah,
timer.
like
Do the math. How many minutes
how
has Bobby been on stage since Mother McCree's Uptown Jug Champions all the way to San Francisco Dead and Co.
isn't he on the road now?
2023. Shit, I think he is. You're right. I mean,
I
yeah,
don't know.
he's on
I
that
actually think
outlaw.
he's still on a break. Oh no, he
He's
might
going
be.
out
Yeah.
soon. He's going with Willie Nelson. I'm gonna go see him in a month or so. But yeah, dude. I mean, but you're in such a weird, unique position of that, because it's oh my God, I think about that a lot with you, and especially obviously with the Dead, because I mean, I love the Allman Brothers, but the Grateful Dead, you know how that's different for me. That's
Yeah.
I love them like too much. But I think about you with the Almonds, and I think about you hitting those iconic bass lines, whipping post, that kicks a song off. You know what I mean? And they're
Yeah.
looking at you and you're looking at them, and it's like you're in this different role, man, than anybody else. And when you're looking at the guys I got to know what that it's a weird, it must be weird.
Well, it's what I think it's not weird for one reason. Well, for two reasons. One, that particular set of guys were not my heroes growing up. And two, I'm always looking at it from the perspective of when I got in. So for me, the Allman Brothers starts at 1997. Now, when you get older, and this is where it always happens. For instance, I was in San Francisco at these last 3 shows at Oracle Park, and the guy at the Haight Street, Jenny Schumann, who does all my straps, the beaded straps, shout out to Beadwork by Jenny, is having a show at the Haight Street Art Center. So they're having this big photography and, well, they had some other stuff too, I think some paintings display down there on the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
So the guy, I guess, who's the head of the art center brought me down. And so it's all these photographs going back to the beginning. And this happened with the Allman Brothers too. You see these photographs and it's them when they're like 21.
Yeah.
Or 19 or younger.
16.
And it's
16.
like
Bobby, I think, was 16.
Yeah, and Kreutzmann was 17.
Yeah.
Right? People forget he was almost as young as Bob, right? And so then you're like, oh, I was 32 when I joined. You're just like, oh yeah, that's right. And then also, It's really hilarious. I was thinking when I was at Haight Street Art Center, I was looking at all these young pictures of Bob. I kept saying, "Oh my God, that looks so much like Chloe," because Chloe was doing my face paint most of the tour. Jess wasn't there, so
Right,
she's
right.
all up in my face, like really close every night right before the show. My eyes are closed most of the time, but then when I would open my eyes, I would see Bob at like 16. you know?
Oh,
So
wow.
as I'm going through on the video, I'm like, holy crap, that just looks so much like Chloe. I said it like 10 times. He looks
Wow.
exactly like. So it's that kind of thing that just puts you in your
Okay.
place quick. You're like, whoa, this is. And a guy interviewed me. He said, "How does it make you feel seeing all this?" And it's live, so I have time to prepare. I said, it just makes me feel really young because you see these
Nice.
pictures, and like when Bob
Yeah.
was in these pictures, I was 1, 2, 3, 4 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, you were a
Holy
baby.
shit. You really were.
And yeah, you were still in diapers, bro. When they were when they were changing the world. So it's as I get older that the gravity of it becomes more like, oh my God. And
Yeah.
then, I look over, the old looking Bob is the Bob that I know, the older looking Bill, the old looking Mickey. But then when all you got to do is just have dinner with him. And then some story will happen and you'll be like, oh yeah. 'Cause especially when they're together, everybody's separate so much, but when they're
Yeah.
all together and then it ping pongs off each other, and then all of a sudden, oh, they're talking about Dylan, or oh, they're talking about McCartney, or whoever, like, or whatever. It could be
Sure.
Castro and Walter Cronkite,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's, you just get reminded, oh yeah, let me wipe that snot off your nose, kid.
Yeah, honestly. Go make sure nobody stole your bike. Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. You're a
Check
kid.
your diaper.
That's
Yeah.
so interesting, and it's such a
Diapers,
great
kid.
point. Yeah, that's a really good point though that you made about like they're not your heroes as far as like so if like Earth, Wind and Fire was like, yo, we need you on, like, or if whoever,
Yeah. No.
like,
Yeah. Now, if it had been, yeah, um, Wayne Shorter, Joe Zawinul, Herbie Hancock, George Duke, who
yeah,
who my friends all played with, and I'm like, I didn't play with my heroes. It's like, yeah, but you know, you
I
didn't
get it,
get
man.
your dream come true, but you got like about people that couldn't have even dreamed of playing with both bands dream come true, right?
And those two
So
bands
there's
too.
that.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, for real. And see, that's to me, they're just the north, they are the coin. And there's the southern side or the east coast southern side and the west coast side.
yeah,
Or
southeast
maybe
and
just east and
northwest.
west.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right?
yeah,
It's whatever it is, it's like it's just two sides of the same coin. The
it
mushroom
totally
is
is.
their symbol, is the Allman Brothers symbol.
Hmm.
That mushroom is central to the
Yeah,
whole thing.
yeah.
So it's literally two sides of the same coin. So it makes sense in
Well,
hindsight.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
brilliant what God was planning, but I just could never have seen it coming.
yeah. And the 13-point lightning
And
bolt.
I also, yeah, right. I
Yep.
Rhea Rhea Hart, Mickey's daughter, posted this picture that brought her back to when she was much younger, and it was when Jimmy, it was of Jimmy, and then there's Jimmy and Bob Dylan. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot Jimmy played with Dylan. It's like, what?
So
you
wild.
know, that's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I got to text Jimmy. I forgot that. Like, yeah, I need to ask him about what that was like.
It's so wild.
If we could get him to do a podcast, he won't. I don't think he wants to be on camera. I'm going to ask him, but I know what the answer is going to be. It's going to be like pulling teeth trying to get Jimmy.
Well, maybe we could have like an animation or something of I'd love to chat with
He,
him.
he might do it. I don't know. I would just be. I'm gonna throw it out there.
I love that
Let's
picture of the
see.
two of you as kids at Red Rocks, like in the crowd.
Oh
Like
man,
that's
that
just so
those were
wild, like those days,
God.
like you grew up with these dudes, and it's so funny how everybody
Yeah,
goes in their separate ways. And like going on the road this weekend and doing stand up, and then like, they're talking to me about like who was at the club last weekend, who's coming soon, and these are all my friends.
yeah,
These are all people that I
yeah,
do sets with in New York and stuff. And they were like, they told us we're gonna, Fenoy is great. You're gonna love him. It's such a great time, And I'm just like, it's so nice, and like you run into people backstage who maybe, you know,
yeah,
Government Mule was just there or whatever, and they're chatting, and they told us to
yeah,
say hi to you. And it's so funny, this
yeah.
road conduit that we're all kind of, we don't see each other, but we're all still, clocking in together under this same,
It's almost like it's all these separate carnivals on the road. So we
yeah,
really, I'm gonna tell you, man, it makes the whatever crazy bugs and bad hotels and whatever easier.
it
Like
does.
I'm sitting there thinking like, how many hotels like this has Kenny Gradney been in?
Oh God,
Is
I
he
know.
still getting one every once in a while, like I am, right?
Yeah,
I mean, just like, and so you have that shared thing. I feel it so much more now, older than I used to. It's probably because I was so busy drinking and being a complete wild man.
I know,
It's
honestly.
nice to get to this point.
It, it is. It really is. And what was funny was, and it's just so silly and so beautiful in a way. I sent you a text. I'm like, I'm sitting here in this hotel in the middle of nowhere, and Stella Blue. I'm listening to your Stella Blue, which
Yeah,
I gotta talk with you about because it's so great. But it brought tears to my eyes, and it was like that song
oh,
specifically always
thank you.
has a very special place in my heart. And it was just like, I had a ton of shit going on, a ton of stuff on my mind. You finally get out of the plane, you finally take the hour ride from the airport to the hotel, you drop your bags, you smell the cigarettes, you know check
Yeah,
for bed bugs, all that. But then you take a deep breath and you're just like, all right, now I'm this guy. And I just started to like well up, and it was like, here we are
yeah,
again. And I text
yeah.
you immediately and you go, I'm sitting in a hotel room in the middle of nowhere. And it's just like knowing that we could reach out to each other. Big J's out on the road. I texted him, he's out on the road. It's
Yeah,
kind of like you
yeah,
you reach out to those folks that you glad we have each other, all of us. You
yeah,
know what I mean? I remember being on the road with Jay and Rich Voss calling Jay and being like, "You out too?" And it was like that was the first thing. He goes,
yeah,
"You out too?" And he's like, "Yeah."
yeah,
And he's like, and we're just talking road, and it's like just so nice to have that Carney, tin can tied to a string thing.
exactly.
Wild,
The
really
Carney
wild.
Brotherhood, the wet white gypsies.
The wet white gypsies. So, dude, have you been getting like? Are you feeling all the love? Are you recognizing it, and are you open to it? With all of this
Yeah,
outpouring of
yeah.
gratitude for your rendition of Stella Blue.
I gotta say, man, I really am, and I'm really, really grateful. I gotta say thank you first of all, but this was my dream come true. You know, Bruce used to always call me Pisces moon. He said Pisces moons are not too sensitive, but too sensitive in a not derogatory way, right?
Got it. Empathetic.
I have I'm not that empathetic. I'm trying to cultivate it, but I don't know. It's weird. I do have a blind spot, but I'm very I guess I am ultimately if stuff makes you cry like that. I get it from my mom, she cries at the Down syndrome person on the McDonald's commercial. And
Yeah.
she just feels that stuff, and it's Pisces is like the wateriest of the water symbols, and the moon is water. So I have a Pisces moon, so it's just like a pile up. He said you and Michael
Yeah.
Jackson, Virgo with Pisces moon, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But here it is. When I did this record, and I was like, okay, this I feel like is the best thing I've ever done. Why? Because it taps into exactly those emotions, and like I, the biggest in the top 3 reasons of what I want this record to accomplish is for people to be able to have a good cry. I think it's one of the most important emotional healing things. It's one of the most important psychedelic experiences that you can have without,
Yep.
you
I
know,
agree.
exogenous psychedelics. And so much of what I've heard is men telling me that it made them cry. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with Western society in general, in our country in particular. I think men need to allow themselves to cry more. And I'm hearing that over and over and over again. And that makes me feel better than anything, man. It really does.
Well, dude, yeah, I can. I'm happily, proudly on that list of dudes who cried with that song. And I'll tell you what made me like well up again was watching the video of you singing it, because you're literally like, it's a
Mm,
vulnerable moment. You're like cut, like when watching someone hit a note that high, you know what I mean? And just the beautiful studio you were in, and the beautiful part of the world you were
yeah.
in, and the beautiful song you're doing, and even down to like the shirt you were wearing, and it was all just
Yeah.
beautiful. It would be beautiful. And I'm driving back from the airport and I'm listening to Tales from the Golden Road with Gans and Lambert,
Mm.
and they're chatting about it and they're playing it and they're talking about you, and people are calling in and
Nice.
they're like, yo, that song, because they
Oh, I
played it
got
and
to
then
go
they took
listen to that.
calls. Oh, dude, it's beautiful. In
I
fact,
got to
there
go
was a kid
listen to
that
that. Oh,
it's on,
sweet.
if you got the Sirius app, it's probably,
I do.
I'll
I
find
have
it.
it.
And
Oh, man.
yeah, you
Sweet.
could probably, I think, well, they definitely replay it today. Yeah, we'll find it.
Yeah,
But
they
anyway,
archive them all. I've got my phone.
totally beautiful. And they were just like, singing your praises. But one of the beautiful things I heard was there was this young kid that called, and he was like, I'm new to the Grateful Dead. He had a question about the Dylan and the Dead album and how like
Yeah.
no one liked it really. But he goes, boy, I got to tell you, he goes, I feel that Oteil Stella Blue in my bones. I'm getting
Mm,
chills all the way down to my bones. He goes, that was beautiful. And it's just so nice to kind of like, I mean, you were like, I'm going to Iceland and I'm doing this album. Like we talked about it, and it's like neat. Like
yeah.
we've been listening to you chat about it since the idea popped into your head, you know? And you did it.
Yeah.
Like as your buddy, I'm like so fucking proud of you, because like you did it. You go, I'm going to Iceland. We got the
Thanks,
studio.
man.
We're doing, these guys are gonna do it. Like you basically like set the path. You went there, you recorded it, and it's been mixing and everything, and now finally here it is. And it's like, it's a testament to patience. It's a testament to like
Yeah.
pushing yourself to a different place. Um, you did songs you didn't do before, really. I mean, you've done them
Yeah.
maybe, but I mean, not, you did a
I
fucking
never
incredible
sang
job, dude.
I never sang Days Between before, or Standing on the Moon
Yep.
before I demoed them at home.
Yep.
Um and I think maybe one more. uh no, I think all the other ones I'd at least done once, but one time. I have to look over the list, but I know Days Between and Standing on the Moon. I was very nervous about that, and I'm still a little critical of people hear it soon, although those are two of my favorites on the record. Um, but I know I'm going to get a chance to tweak them live too when I do them live going forward. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I really, man, uh, it was like, it is, all this is like a testament to patience. I'm glad I lived long enough to realize how long some things take, for
Yeah.
Nigel's sake and Kavi's sake,
Yeah.
because some
Yeah.
things take a really long time, you know. But that was like a mission. It was like a SEAL team, because we had 9 days and that's it. And here I am doing a record of all ballads, the first record that I'm going to sing everything on. That's
Right.
insanity.
Right.
You
And you
know,
were,
like,
and I remember the detail of like, you had a vicious cold. You were like,
oh, dude.
you had like, there was like 2 straight months of you just blowing your nose, like leading up to that trip, and probably 2 months
Yeah.
after too, now that I think about it, but
It's
yeah.
actually, I'm still caught up. I'm thinking some of this is just long COVID stuff, but it's a really good thing that people don't see like all of what the recording process, because there's two things happening a lot. Me hacking up loogies between takes, coughing and hacking up loogies,
Yeah.
and me crying constantly. It's like all he does is cry and hack up loogies.
That this album should have been sponsored by Kleenex.
No
It's
kidding, because boy, did I go through them. And
yeah, tears and
I
boogies
felt
is like
bad
what
for
they're
the
made for.
yeah, I felt bad for the people watching it because we did all the music first. I think I did all the vocals in the last 2 days, and you can hear my voice getting kind of rough on Mission in the Rain. And I
Yeah.
was like, dude, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this because it starts high and stays high the entire time. And you can really hear it on the record, but it kind of adds to it
Yeah.
because it's such a heart-wrenching thing. It puts a little razor blade on the skin,
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So it helped it in the end, you know.
Yeah.
But it
And
was scary, like doing that. It's staring down a barrel. Like you got 9 days to do this. The first album you ever sang all the way through on, and you're singing all the ballads, and they're all going to be judged because all these songs are not new.
right.
Everybody has these songs already in their head, imprinted on their souls.
Right.
So,
Right.
and you're going to even take liberties with it, like yeah. Talk about
That's
facing down the critic.
when you got this guy looking over your shoulder.
Dude.
There he is up in the clouds. But I'll tell you what, man, if you think about it though, because I think about it, I get what you're saying. But also, look, if John Prine did an album of Jerry ballads, if Tom Waits did an album of Jerry ballads, if Adele did the the
But
spectrum,
those are guys that are they're known for singing.
No, but my
I
point
couldn't
is
even
like,
use that to help me.
but I would say though that like, the difference in it, the tweaking it, the
Yeah,
raspiness of it, the edge of it, it came
Yeah.
from an imperfect singer. I mean, Jerry was so
Mhm.
beautifully imperfect. You know what I mean? Like his creaky. The thing I love about when I picture Jerry
Yeah.
singing is there's a cigarette burning at the headstock of his guitar. You know what I mean? Like he just always had that. Think about the snots he was fucking spitting up back then. You're not smoking 6 packs of Lucky Strikes either, But you could tell that, dude. I mean, honestly, it was worth the wait because you could hear your emotion, you could hear your commitment, and you can hear just the dedication that like went into mixing it and all of it, dude. It's just the strings at the end, the way it goes off on a whole other ending. That Stella Blue
Yeah.
is like, and that song
Dude,
to
Jason
me,
Crosby.
God, that's just beautiful, dude. It sounded like you had a 100-piece orchestra, you know?
I know, and it was just 4 tracks. We did all the strings on the album are basically string quartet.
Yeah.
But for some reason it sounds like so much
Sounds like
more,
a
and I think
church.
it's just the way he voiced it because he's got that musical sense and
Yeah.
perfect pitch like my brother. But it's not just perfect. Like perfect pitch is a separate thing, but him and my brother both have it, and they both played keyboards and then another instrument, which was their first instrument. Kofi was flute and Jason was violin. But he
Yeah.
just has that musical sense to where he could voice it like that, and it sounds so lush, like a string section that's much bigger than it was. He was
It's
really a
yeah.
secret weapon. And
Sound like a full orchestra.
and Adam Tenenbaum too, man. When people hear "Standing on the Moon" and some of the other tunes where uh, Adam Tenenbaum's space sounds like,
Yeah.
it was the way it all came together. And I gotta say too, man, in the videos, all those scenes that you're seeing on the videos of the Arctic Ocean and uh, the ladies riding up on horses, that was my wife Jess and Al Evans' wife Kim and my manager's wife Brady. And there was like these girls went on a snow riding trip on the horses, and like all that stuff was literally, if you open the front door of the studio, that's what you would see. It's not
God.
footage from somewhere else. Like all that footage is from right there at the studio. You open the studio door and look out the window, and there's the Arctic Ocean. It's the
It's out
most
of control.
mystical shit, dude. It's
It really is.
totally out of control.
And I
Yeah,
hope that people realize that when they hear this, because also, dude, there's a flight that takes place. There's a change in altitude that takes place. There's a change in the moisture in the air that takes place that you singing have to adapt to. And that's a lot,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
It's not like you
yeah.
recorded this in Florida in the humidity.
No, and I was on a different time zone too. We just got in there, started banging it out, and that's why I say, like, it's almost like it's like being an astronaut. Once you get there, you just let go of all of whatever happened, even if it was an hour ago, because now you're in outer space. Once you leave the atmosphere, just leave it behind and be where you are. I had a spit cup and I had a box of tissues all the time, and we're doing it because we're on the clock. Well, and I got through it somehow between all the tears and loogie.
how full circle, Oteil, that so many men are listening to this with a spit cup and a box of tissues next to him as well, because it's making everybody cry. God. I think Big Tissues is behind all of this.
I hope people have heard the entire record now before they hear this podcast, so I haven't ruined the image for it forever.
Holy shit. Oh, it's beautiful.
Edited out.
That's so great. Oh my God. Well, everybody can hear it at now it's out by the time this drops. So
yeah,
I'm sure everyone's crying like a baby in a good way. So we all do need it for sure. So maybe we should have Comes the Time tissue box holders. Like when you go to the hotel and they have the fancy box.
Yeah, that's right. for your, or just like actually have lovely view of heaven tissue box holder just for that record.
Just for that record. That's amazing. If you go to our Patreon, you can get
funny
a hanky.
Marketing.
Yeah, you just get a little man hanky. Making men cry since 2023. Oh God, I love it.
Too much.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us for yet another episode. We love you. And if you're enjoying us, go subscribe and share and like, and join us on Patreon at patreon.com/comesatimepod for bonus content. The merch is up. So head over to our store on our website and grab yourself a t-shirt, maybe a hat, maybe a hanky to cry to. And we will see you again very shortly. Love you all. Peace.